seated. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now 7 p.m. Welcome to tonight's Planning and Zoning Commission meeting of Monday, April 6, 2026. Members of the Planning and Zoning Commission and public may participate in the public hearing. All participants will be able to speak when called upon. At this time, I would like to explain the procedures to be followed during the meeting. The Commission has both a consent agenda and an agenda for consideration of individual items. Items listed on the consent agenda are considered to be routine and non-contested. Item number 1, citizen comments, provides the opportunity for members of the public to address the Commission on items that are listed on the consent agenda. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes, and the Secretary will let you know when 1 minute is left. For all plats and plans conditionally approved or disapproved by the Commission, the applicant has provided a written statement of the conditions for the conditional approval or the reasons for disapproval. These conditions and reasons are not arbitrary. They are directly related to the requirements of Local Government Code, Chapter 212, and include citations to the law that is the basis for the conditional approval or disapproval. For individual consideration items, I will call the applicant or his or her representative to present the case. The applicant will have up to 5 minutes to present the case, which includes all persons representing the application. Then those wishing to speak in favor and those wishing to speak in opposition will have up to 5 minutes each to present his or her comments. The applicant will have 5 minutes to answer questions or provide rebuttal if there is opposition. Prior to speaking, please give your name and city of residence. Remember to speak directly into the microphone, as this hearing is recorded for the public record. Any handouts you wish to provide should be given to staff, typically Mr. Bloom at the end. Applicants are not required to stay for the entire duration of the meeting and may leave once their item has been heard. The next meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission will be Monday, May 4th, 2026. The next item on our agenda is citizen comments on items listed on the consent agenda. April, has anyone signed up to speak on any item on the consent agenda?
No one signed up to speak. Please proceed.
Thank you. Commissioner Myrick, will you read the consent agenda into the record?
Yes, for consent is the approval of the Planning and Zoning Commission minutes of Monday, March 2nd, 2026.
We'll accept a motion.
So moved.
Second.
You have a motion, please vote. Consent agenda passes unanimously 9-0. And then the disapproval, please.
For disapproval, we have 2026-65-PL, Irving Farms Addition, located at 2000 Eaton Road.
We'll accept a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion
To disapprove.
to disapprove.
Second.
Please vote. And the motion carries 9-0 for disapproval. We'll move on to the individual items. The first item, zoning case 2025-177-ZC, located at 406 Charles Road. Is the applicant available? Would you like to come down and offer any remarks?
Good afternoon. I'm Daniel Rios. I'm speaking on behalf of my mom, Maria Salas.
Thank you. Could you give your city of residence?
406 Charles Drive, Irving, Texas.
Okay. Does the commission have any questions for the applicant? We heard your case during work session.
Oh, okay.
Anything you'd like to add from the
Okay.
case earlier?
Que ya escucharon todo esto, entonces, si quieres decir algo.
Sí, antes que nada, quisiera, solo hice la construcción porque yo necesitaba un storage para lo que no ocupo en casa y como el mío ya estaba deteriorado, quise hacer uno nuevo para poner las cosas que no necesito dentro de casa y procedí a hacerlo. No sé si hay algún problema.
This construction, she only wanted it to be a little storage room since her old one was already deteriorated and breaking down and causing it to like fall down. So she just wanted to build a new one. She was hoping that the construction wouldn't have no problems.
I have two questions. First question is, when was this building exactly built?
Cuando lo construyeron.
Casi en el tiempo de la pandemia,
Uh,
en 2020.
they started the construction right around 2020.
Okay. Are you aware that we have a GIS map that shows it to be late 23, early 24?
Que tienen una mapa que dice que es de 2023, 2024.
Oh, ok.
Que si tú sabías.
No.
No,
lo
she
sabía.
wasn't aware.
Yeah, the satellite maps are showing that it was built in late 23, early 24.
Sí, dice que la mapa estaba enseñando que lo construyeron en 2023, 2024.
Oh, ok, ok. No estoy muy
Ok.
familiarizada con eso,
Okay.
pero fue
Second.
alrededor de ese tiempo.
Okay. The second question I have is it on a concrete slab or is it on wood posts?
Es con el cemento, ¿eh?
No,
No,
no es con cemento.
no, como el base.
Oh, no,
No.
es puro.
Madera?
Ajá.
Yeah, it's a wood slab. There's no cement slab.
It is on a cement slab?
No, sir, it's not.
Oh, okay. So it can be moved?
Se puede mover.
Ya,
Yes, sir.
bueno.
Okay.
Any other questions for the applicant? If you'll just hold for a second, I'd like to see if there's anyone else who'd like to speak in favor of the item. Okay, anyone who would like to speak in opposition to this item? Okay, thank you very much. We appreciate your
Thank you for your
questions and
time.
answers tonight. I'll close the item to the floor and return it to the commission for a discussion or motion.
So
I
just
think I would
further,
agree.
oh, sorry, go ahead.
Go
Vicky.
ahead, Adam, go ahead.
Well, it's further to your point. I just wanted to make clear, if they just move the building back, obviously they have to move it further than 5 feet because of the height. I forget, or I had it here, but 7 feet or whatever it is. All they have to do is just move it back and they can leave the building there, correct? Okay.
I would agree with staff's finding, there's no hardship because the building can be moved, like Adam asked staff a while ago, and get the necessary permits to keep the building. So I would have to agree for denial on the variance. So I'd make a motion for denial if there's no other comments.
Second.
We have a motion and a second.
And
Please
this is
vote.
on for zoning case 2025-177 ZC denial.
We have a motion, please vote. Yeah, okay. And the motion passes with a denial. So, Ms. Salas, you will want to talk to staff. They'll explain to you about moving the building without the variance. Oh, yeah, apologize. It'll go to City Council because they have final say on April 16th. Well, somebody over there could. Zoning case 2025-213-ZC, MacArthur Marketplace located at 8080 Walton Boulevard. Is the applicant present? No one here for the restaurant at MacArthur Marketplace. Okay, y'all, is there anybody here who would like to speak in favor of the item? Anyone who would like to speak in opposition? Okay, I'll close the item to the floor and return it to the commission for discussion or a motion. Make a motion.
I'd make a motion for postponement since the applicant's not here.
What's that meeting?
I second. To the May 4th meeting.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second to postpone. Please vote. Motion passes 9-0 to postpone. Moving to case 2025-303-ZC, located at 2609 Ackers Lane. This one is actually indefinitely postponed for further review. I don't have to have a public hearing. Yes, you do. Still okay. So is the applicant present? No. Is there anyone who would like to speak in favor of the item? Anyone who would like to speak in opposition? Okay, please come down and give your name and city of residence, please.
Good evening. I am William Ansley. I live at 7012 Santiago Court in North Richland Hills. I own Landmark Earth Services, and I own the property adjacent to this property at 2625 Ackers Lane. And I would like to start by asking, I'm not quite sure what the zoning is and what the zoning is that they're requesting.
The current zoning is light industrial, ML20, and the zoning being requested is light industrial 20 with variances. The variance would be to the lot width, the lot area, and the minimum and side rear setbacks, and minimum parking. So the zoning stays the same. They're asking for variance in terms of the placement of the business on the property.
Okay. I need a little further understanding of what that means.
So the lot is a very small, narrow lot.
6,000 square feet?
Yes, and so in order to fit a building on that lot, they're asking to be able to have the small lot, number one, but then be able to fill up more lot than normally would be allowed. So basically, they have smaller setbacks. I want to preface that by saying, as we were looking at it, we did find the Encore transmission lines go through it, so that is the reason it's being postponed, is to allow the applicant more time to talk with Encore to see if there's any other options. We've already talked with Encore. Usually when transmission lines go through, there's about a 50-foot easement, so they've got that to work through. But the core of the request was to have, basically have a little bit more building on the lot than what the setbacks would exist, would allow today.
Yeah, my company, we've done a lot of power line work, and I just don't see how they can put anything to maybe a small shed in that back corner. One of my concerns is about 2 years ago, without a permit and without planning, they raised the elevation of their property, and so it's causing some watershed problems right now. I had to come down here to code enforcement. The only thing they could do was make them put up a silt fence. But it's causing problems on my property. If you go down Ackers Lane, I have the nicest property on that street. We keep it sparkling clean, mowed, and I'm concerned that any additional changes they do is going to cause additional watershed problems on my property. And so going forward, if they're going to do anything, I want to know how they're going to mitigate that problem so it's not an additional problem for me. And it's really, I have to say, my new neighbor, Pet Passage, is right there. They spent probably $200,000 or more on that building. And all it did was raise my property value. It's beautiful. And I just hope whoever does whatever on this lot does something to elevate the value of my property, not to lower my property values. And I certainly don't want them to create additional problems for me. And that's really why I came down here today, is just to express that. But I appreciate y'all's time. I'm going to go home and lay on my couch with my doggy now.
Let us know how the basketball game's going, please. Thank you for your time tonight, sir. Anyone else to speak or any questions you have? I'll now close the item to the floor and return it to the commission for discussion or a motion.
If there's no further discussion among the commissioners, I'd like to move zoning case 2025-303-ZC for postponement indefinitely.
Second.
We have a motion, a second, please vote. Thank you all very much. Motion carries to postpone 9-0. Moving on to comprehensive plan case 2026-13-CP. Mr. Ruig, you're up. Not last tonight on the schedule.
Thank you for that.
We have two cases that are similar. I'm assuming you would like to go both the comprehensive plan as well as the zoning case?
Yes, that would be great.
2025-478-ZC.
Yes, and Andrew Ruig, 3333 Wellborn in Dallas. And I think, can you all see the presentation on your screens? Oh, there we go, it's up there. Well, thank you and good evening. Good to see you all again. As staff had mentioned in the work session, we are back at P&Z with a revised request. I want to thank staff for working with us to come up with a general agreement of what would, be acceptable in the eyes of staff and in the eyes of the property owner. So what I have here is essentially, what we've done to this. We've taken off the ML20A, instead gone to community commercial and added some uses that we were looking at doing in the first place. I think the big thing that we took away is the warehouse distribution component, so that's not a use that's allowed anymore. The primary uses that we've had the most interest for are these top two: contractor, office, and storage, commercial or retail, office, showroom, and storage. We also mentioned with staff, and these other uses exist in the area: automotive sales, commercial truck or truck and trailer repair. Put those both as indoor only. So all these operations on this whole list are primarily indoors only. So we've created some additional guardrails to ensure that. So you may be familiar with the site aerial, a heavily commercial area. You've seen these slides. One note on this future land use map, we only have the one change now since we're going to regional commercial. I think I heard in the work session there was a comment about some of this being local commercial on the eastern side, and we do have regulations in there that we feel would be appropriate, limiting the accessory outside storage and including screening should there be any outside storage if that is developed and outside storage is there. One other thing I wanted to point out is there's a bit of a raise or I guess elevation change in Irving Boulevard, so it's not necessarily a street-facing access point. As you all are probably familiar, the street has the elevation change. You're kind of going up a hill to go over a overpass. So it doesn't necessarily, I understand it fronts on it, but we have these regulations in there that we feel would be appropriate to have for this particular, keeping with the future land use map and not making too many changes to it. Zoning map, we have the CC, SP2 for CCs involved there. And then also kind of talking to the compatibility, I showed a similar slide to this previously. The green was all ML20 zoning districts, which we've transitioned that to instead regional commercial type zoning districts, which are these CC community commercial zoning districts, which do also exist in the area. So we're just the lesser intense of the general surrounding uses that already exist in this heavy commercial area. I think that's mainly all I wanted to share and point out, but I'm certainly happy to answer any questions, and I appreciate your time tonight.
Thank you. Any questions of Mr. Ruig while he's here?
I got one question. Why did we add so many proposed uses to the change?
Sure. And I'll answer that as we had originally requested. Let me go back to, here we go. This, we had originally requested ML20A for light industrial. That would be, I think, warehouse distribution, future land use map. These top two uses, contractor office and storage, exists in the area. Commercial retail, office, showroom, storage also exists in the area. The two bottom ones, we haven't got as much interest, but they also exist in the area. So that's why we've added them to the community commercial district. Community commercial just by itself isn't really doesn't have all that much in common with the existing uses over here. So we chose to go this route as opposed to potentially one of the other routes we were thinking about taking was, okay, let's step down ML20A to CW commercial warehouse, but maybe prohibit some uses from that. In discussing with staff, we felt this was the more appropriate option, is to have a base of community commercial and then add some proposed uses that we had been looking to do as part of this plan all along. So again, these uses are in the area and these have heavy interest from various users. We think it would be compatible and consistent with existing zoning and future land use.
So the automotive sales indoor display, y'all will never go over 49%?
Correct. Now, I will also say this, in talking with staff, we didn't necessarily agree in our discussions on some of these items, but at the end of the day, I think what they've put out there, obviously we would think of more indoor storage areas for our particular uses, but understand the threshold of, okay, well, if you're doing all indoor storage, this isn't an accessory use, this is a main use. And we said, okay, we can, make this work for either the contractor office and storage or the office showroom storage type use. So just to give you, a flavor of what contractor office storage is, we're looking at a plumbing supply company for a contractor office and storage, HVAC equipment, those types of things. I think just to the north of us is, it'll probably be on my map, I think HVAC, McGee Electrical Services. So we understand that indoor storage component is limited, but we also will have the office component there. And I think another thing that staff had mentioned to us was these uses historically have allowed public access. So we understand that, and these are the types of users that we're looking to host here at the site, where people can come in, view a showroom for, whatever that might be, if it's contractor supply equipment, if it's, an auto dealership indoor only, if it's a furniture showroom, appliance showroom. These are uses that bring the community in versus, straight warehouse distribution was not what was looked at as an appropriate use. We never really wanted to do that here because we don't think this site goes to that, but it was difficult in kind of chopping up the zoning code on saying, well, how can we make these regulations fit to what we're trying to achieve while still, not making this too intense of a zoning district and keeping with the surrounding area.
Are you looking at one master tenant, or are you looking at multiple tenants, or how are y'all looking at on this building, like a flex warehouse type setup, or?
I think it's going to depend on what ultimately comes out of the zoning. If it's one tenant in the existing Southern Junction building or multiple tenants. We've also set up the rules so that indoor storage space is still limited because it's not a warehouse. It's office showroom warehouse, or it's contractor office plus storage. So to answer your question, it could be a combination of those things for the existing site and for the new site, which would be obviously a new building.
Just one question. I noticed that there was a number of residents in the area that signed a petition to oppose. Did you all try to address any of their concerns?
We think the petition, I think, came after P and Z last time, and we heard some speakers at the council meeting that mentioned this petition, which what was said to us was essentially this was a Save Southern Junction type petition, where some people don't want Southern Junction to go out of business, but as we explained here before, it has not been an economically viable option to operate a dance hall with alcohol sales there. Even with the alcohol sales, it has not been a commercially viable option for the owners. So we're really just backing away from that as a use altogether. And similar to these other uses, like I've talked to, that's what we think is most appropriate for the area. So I think that petition was primarily, we want to save Southern Junction, and we heard people at the council hearing say that, and we're like, well, yeah, it doesn't work out. It's not viable. So those are kind of where we ended up with this.
If this passes tonight, what is your timeline as far as shutting down Southern Junction?
I believe the last event was 2 weeks ago. So the current owner is not allowing him to do more events there. They haven't been profitable in a while, and we're really looking to move this property forward.
So no matter how the vote goes tonight, they're basically out of business then?
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you, Andrew. Is there anyone else who would like to speak in favor of this item? Anyone who would like to speak in opposition to the item? Okay, I'll close this item to the floor and return it to the commission for a discussion or a vote. And we vote on these separately. So the first vote would be on Comprehensive Plan 2026-13-CP.
Madam Chairwoman, I'd like to make a motion for Comprehensive Plan 202613CP. Move forward to the City Council with recommendation of approval.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously, and we'll move on to the zoning case on the associated 2025-478-CZ. Does the commission have any additional questions for the applicant?
No, I'd just like to thank the applicant for working with the city and trying to figure out a use for the building.
Is there anyone who would like to speak in favor of the item at this time? Anyone who would like to speak in opposition? I will close the item to the floor and return it to the commission for discussion or a vote.
Madam Chairwoman, if none of the other commissioners have any comments, I'd like to make a motion for zoning case 2025-478-ZC, master plan be moved to the City Council with recommendation of approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. Okay, Andrew, we'll see you on, City Council see you April 16th. Moving on to case 2026-21-ZC, and that's located at 4190 Valley View Lane. Mr. Dewey, I see you here. Would you like to come down and present this evening?
Is that better? Oh, much better, much better, much better. I'm here tonight on behalf of the applicant, the Islamic Center of Irving Endowment Fund. They have this property under contract with the intention of creating a cemetery for their community. First, I'd like to say we always try to prepare these zoning cases with the chance of obtaining staff recommendation of approval, and I was disappointed that we didn't. But attending the work session, I understand some of the questions that maybe are not clear, and I hope to clarify those in the next few minutes. This property is very unusual. You rarely see properties that encircle another property, or basically a donut. I've been doing this 40 years, and it's probably the second time I've seen a property like that. So it is very unusual. And the fact that the inside property is a cemetery makes it even a little more unusual. It's been here, I think, because of the cemetery being in the middle. It really limits circulation, traffic for commercial, and greatly reduces the buildable area. And so I think that's why it may still be available. But creating a new cemetery around the existing cemetery makes sense. It's a compatible use, obviously, and it doesn't really interfere with how they want to use it. I think the biggest concerns the staff has are related to the size and whether or not there'll be enough funds, I guess, from this small cemetery to ensure perpetual maintenance. We actually had a meeting with the city manager a few months ago when they were first looking at this, and that was one of the things he pointed out, is that you've got to ensure that you have lifetime maintenance covered. Because we have plenty of cemeteries, small cemeteries in the city that are maintained at a minimal level at best, and we certainly understand that. So they are going to put 25 to 30% of the fee added to the fee for an internment will go into a new separate endowment fund for the perpetual care forever for this facility. Now we have the ability to have over 3,000 graves. They're anticipating 100 per year being used. That's roughly a 30-year time period. Maybe a little over a generation, but basically one generation. And with that, with those 3,000 sales and putting that money into an endowment fund will ensure that care forever. I think the other thing is there's a question about owner-operator. The existing endowment fund is what's covering the construction of the multi-use building in front of the Islamic Center now. And that's how it's under contract. But they're going to establish a new endowment fund for the cemetery should this get approved. So that will be the owner and operator of the facility. They do not have any experience in running a cemetery. I think most initial cemeteries probably are run by people that don't have experience. However, just like other religions and other factions, there are other Muslim cemeteries in the area. There's Denton, Coppell, there's other ones. They're all part of the same community. They've already reached out to them on how to structure it, so they will have guidance, internal guidance, to make sure that this is operated correctly and professionally. So I think that should hopefully address that issue. Access will be provided to the Harrington family forever. There's not really anything in writing now, but I think state law requires that you provide access. They really have no real access now. There's no roads going back there. I think there was a slide in the work session where they're kind of going down a stale road and somebody's getting in that direction. But if this is approved and this cemetery is constructed, there will be a concrete road around the edge and they will have 24 access to the facility. There will be security features. They do not want any vandalism inside the facility, inside the cemetery. It will be fenced and gated. We will have to comply with traffic's requirements on location of the gate. I'm not sure how they're handling, if it's going to be locked all the time, but the Harringtons will always have access, whether they have a code to the gate, whatever it takes.
1 minute remaining.
And then the staff has made a point of saying this is not an expansion of the cemetery. It's not an expansion of the Harrington family cemetery, but it's an expansion of the cemetery use around it. And that's why we've asked for the second variance being the 20-foot setback to graves. We are complying with the 20-foot setback to graves to all of the exterior property lines. This being highly unusual, we have an interior around the donut, which is a cemetery, so we feel like it makes sense that we shouldn't have to comply with the setback against that cemetery. They do not have any setback requirements. And we are complying with the 20-foot building setback around the internal donut, but asking for a variance to the 20-foot grave setback only around the internal cemetery. So with that, respectfully request you consider recommending approval of this case. I'll be glad to answer any questions that you have in regards to the zoning case.
You mentioned a couple other cemeteries. What sizes are they?
One of them, and I don't remember which one, there's somebody in the audience that can tell you, one of them is over 25 acres. The other two or three they mentioned are not 25 acres. I don't know. They probably are bigger than the 4.7. This is a small one. We're not.
Yeah, but by the time you put the roads in this, you're only getting 3 acres, basically.
Well, again, we have over 3,000 graves.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And then the other thing I'd like to address in terms of the funding, if you have a cemetery that's 4.7 acres, the cost of maintenance is obviously much less than if you have a 25-acre cemetery. And so that also helps with ensuring forever funding. And with the cost of properties now, and there's just not many 25-acre tracts left in Irving, I think it's going to be hard to see a cemetery coming forward meeting that requirement. That requirement comes from a professional organization, but not a regulatory commission.
Sorry, did you said 3,000 burial plots?
Yes.
Okay. And this site plan, it sounds like for a variety of reasons it may not be feasible, such as you have a creek going through the property, you have some requirements on the gate setback, things of that nature.
I'm very glad you asked that question. There is no issue with the creek. The creek is going to stay. We're going to be developing around the creek. And in terms of access, this property only has 83 feet of access on Valley View. There are plans that have been prepared for upgrading, reconstructing Valley View, which would be great. They are actually blocking that frontage with a drainage structure, and in turn asking or giving or proposing to the current property owners an easement through the animal shelter property to access their property. We have been negotiating with the city to maybe make some revisions to that plan and allow access at the 83 feet. This property will have access to Valley View one way or the other. There is no question about that, and there's really no reasons not to. So I think that comment in the staff report's a little misleading. The gate setback wouldn't affect the number of graves. We're not that far off with what is shown on the drawing. We will simply move it further back. There will be one-way circulation interior with the driveway system.
Okay, thank you. And so then, as far as usable acreage, if you're taking out the creek, is the 2.85, is that about right in your estimation, or how?
I have not done that calculation, so I can't say one way or the other. We have done a site plan that addresses the creek. We've met with city staff in regards to the access. We've talked about the creek and the drainage structures.
Thank you.
And in terms of security, I know there was a question in the work session. It will be fenced. They may have some additional security features, cameras, radio access, things like that, but that's still in planning.
So what you're asking for is basically an 82+% variance on our ordinance.
Unfortunately, that is what we're asking for. But I really think the 25-acre minimum as set in the ordinance was a little unrealistic in today's market. Not to say that 4.7 is the right number, but I think the 25 set it awfully high. Most cemeteries do not meet. Oak Grove Memorial in Irving is the largest cemetery in Irving. They started out with far less than 25 acres. They've assembled many, many properties over the year, which I helped them with some of their design. And I believe they now total 28 acres. But they were far less when they initially started that cemetery.
Would you be willing, as the applicant, to postpone this until June to work out the details with city staff and answer the questions that we had come up in the work session, and to give us a little bit more detail on what needs to be done?
No, I can't agree to that. We need to have a vote this evening. There are reasons, contractual obligations with the property owner and other things that we really need to stay on our current time track.
Mr. Dewey, my understanding is this isn't sort of a general cemetery for the public at large. The 25 acres makes sense if it's sort of anybody coming in. This is really for a specific community. So we're not talking about this is a cemetery that would be designed to meet the needs of the city of Irving generally, but to help one specific community.
That is correct.
So there wouldn't be the need for it to be as large in that regard.
No.
And I have to say that the endowment contributing 25 to 30% of the sale to the endowment, that's nice, but we don't know what the sale cost is. And if you are talking about a smaller cemetery, then that ends up being a much smaller nut than if you had a large cemetery.
Absolutely.
And, you know, the recommendation from several of these bodies that we've developed our ordinance for indicate that it's very hard to sustain a cemetery of even 10 acres. That's why they're recommending 25. So you may say the endowment amount contributed is 25%, but we don't know where you're starting in terms of the sale of these. So we don't know whether 25% sounds very generous, but we don't know what that ends up looking like.
Well, according
for
to that
perpetual care.
association, the typical amount is 10%. But they are, I've been told by the group that will be operating it, that they are going to, a minimum of 25% of that cost will be put into that permanent endowment fund.
What is the initial investment in the endowment to start out with?
I don't know that. I don't know if,
Good evening. My name is Dawood Jamil. I live at.
A little closer for the mic.
Oops. Good evening. My name is Dawood Jamil, and I live at 4608.
Is the microphone on?
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Sorry. Good evening. My name is Dawood Jamil. I've been a resident of Irving for close to now 30 years. I'm a resident at 4608 Luxor Drive in Irving. Regarding the question of the endowment fund, what exactly was yours?
I'm just saying that the contribution of 25 to 30% is generous.
Yeah.
However, it's a smaller cemetery, much smaller. So the total amount that ends up in the endowment is still much smaller than what you would expect in a much larger cemetery. And down the road, once your plots are sold, your endowment, other than organic growth in the market or wherever you put your money, you know, that doesn't grow that endowment to a large amount in order down the road to continue to maintain that property.
Yeah. The cost of the grave plots itself is we are estimating it at about $2,000. So a third of it, or around 30%, will be going into the fund, the endowment fund, and then it is the endowment. The endowment fund is the fund that basically in charge is the one that owns the building under construction. It's the contract price on that alone is like $12 million. I think the building, when it's all finished, it's going to be worth much more. So the endowment fund has a substantial amount of assets in it. You know, we'll have it at its disposal, like even in like 6 months when the building is complete. It's a 60,000 square foot building under construction. So the inheritors of maintaining the responsibility of maintaining and the perpetual care of it is going to be with the endowment fund. So they they will have the resources definitely to keep it up. And they are going to be receiving roughly one third of the sales money will be going into the fund. So I think it's reasonable to assume that they will have the resources.
What is the initial investment into the endowment fund?
By the cemetery,
No, not to build it, but once it's built, what is your initial investment going to be?
once the building is built, the contract value of I'm the vice president of the endowment fund itself, the ICI Waqf. I can tell you that the contract value of that is around upwards of $12 million, just the the contract that's that's handling the construction right now. And with the land and everything, it's worth at least like $15 million. And it's expected to generate calculations, it's about $1.5 million of revenue to fund the school and the mosque.
What I'm asking is how much is going in after the cemetery's built?
Right.
How much money are you putting into the endowment fund? Are you strictly
behalf of the
relating off of the 30% from each plot?
Yeah, like the cemetery, all the sales, like the 3,000 grave slots, and at about $2,000 a piece, it's about, you can expect like a third of it. So it's like 1,000 graves at 2,000. So it's almost like $2 million of money will be going into the endowment fund from the cemetery sales alone, if that's what you wanted.
If I understood, I think what Commissioner Lightfoot was trying to say was, so, you have the initial investment of, or
$2 million.
to purchase the property and to get it up, to establish it.
Correct.
But then you, of course, will have regular maintenance costs, mowing the lawn or whatever it is to keep it up, but you won't have, how fast do you anticipate that people will purchase plots such that you have enough money to pay out of your endowment those sort of just month-to-month maintenance
As
costs?
a matter of fact, a good question, because people informally are aware that this effort is underway, and we've had so many people reach out to us. Even I myself, I myself purchased 10 lots when the cemetery in Coppell opened up. And then, not with the intent of using 10 lots for my family, but, I just got 10 lots. And then over the years, in the last 2-3 years, I've had friends reach out to me. As a matter of fact, a gentleman reached out to me in the middle of the night saying, hey, can you sell me a lot at Coppell? My mom passed away. So now I am down to 5. So like that, a lot of people are hoping that this would, get to the finish line. So, sales isn't a problem. We are internally wondering, how are we going to manage? Because people in Valley Ranch, Coppell, Arlington, because right now when there is a bereavement, they have to go all the way to Denton on 380 or to Farmersville. By the way, the Farmersville cemetery is in excess of 25 acres. It's more than 25. Denton is basically like around 40 acres in 2 chunks. So they got to travel long distances. So selling this is
So you anticipate being able to sell lots very quickly,
Yeah, absolutely.
and thus almost immediately
Absolutely.
having money in the endowment fund
So that money
to cover
will
the
go into
maintenance costs?
will be available to the endowment fund right away.
Okay, yeah. Thank you.
Any more questions?
The question I have for you, your endowment fund is there for several different projects, the building and other things, right?
Yes.
The question was, you've got the cemetery you're proposing with 3,000 potential grave sites,
Right.
okay? But when you start off from day one, you still have maintenance on it when you haven't buried anybody.
Mm-hmm.
So how much are you going to initially fund that's dedicated for the cemetery
Mm-hmm.
to start with, okay?
Yeah, I think I answered that question
I don't-
earlier. It's about
Yeah,
$2
that's what
million.
he was saying in regards to my question.
He was talking about
Yeah, he said he
selling
anticipated being able to sell them immediately, or sell a large
Immediately.
number of them
You think
immediately.
all 3,000 are
Oh,
going to go?
yes. Yeah, actually, we are kind of wondering how are we going to manage the demand, because there are lots of we see lots of institutional, like, Valley Ranch Center is going to reach out and say, give us a block of 500, or Arlington, and, Coppell, and various, so we want to make sure that the people in Irving have enough. The center on Esther's and Valley Ranch, and residents of Irving have like priorities. We're trying to work out a way to handle that demand. So.
I didn't get the answer I was looking for, but, okay.
Sir, I had a question.
Sure.
And I don't, you or Mr. Dewey might know this, that there have been questions about maintenance of this land.
Mm-hmm.
And one unique feature is that there is an existing cemetery in the middle of this parcel.
Right.
So I don't think I've heard, how is that parcel currently maintained? And is there like an understanding of how that will go forward? And Mr. Dewey might know.
Yeah.
That cemetery is not being maintained at all.
Okay.
It's just overgrown. I don't know if they come in every couple years maybe and do something, but it's not being well maintained.
Got it.
If I may interject, I know he's one of the grandsons of the Harringtons, a gentleman by the name of Casey Harrington, I'm in touch with him, and as a goodwill gesture, as part of this cemetery, what we are thinking is, we will maintain that cemetery. That's a small piece of, like the footprint of a house, right? Around 6,000 square feet. Fence it nicely, have a proper gate, and a paved, like a driveway to the road, to the north.
Sir,
Driveway that goes.
can you get a little closer to the microphone, please?
So, I'm sorry. So we will maintain it. We'll be happy to maintain it because those people have moved out. They are no longer in the area. And this is the size of basically like a small single-family house lot. So fencing it, beautifying it, that would be our pleasure to do it. We'll take care of that.
So part of your proposal is, it's anticipated that you'll be maintaining
Yes,
that small
yes,
parcel.
absolutely.
And providing access.
Absolutely.
And that's part of the plan.
Even if this question didn't come up, we were planning to do that because it would be nice and, fence it nicely, get this like a paved, like I said, a little driveway for in case they ever want to come and do anything about it. But they moved out from the area. They are no longer there, but I'm in touch with one of their grandsons.
Thank you.
So there's an apartment complex that's close by there. Are they aware that you're wanting to build a cemetery over there?
Yeah, but there is a buffer between the apartment complex and the cemetery. I think the DFW airport owns the tract.
Yeah. And I know they should have gotten notice. I'm just asking, has there been any communication with them?
No, I'm sure if they would have been notified if they are within.
You all have not?
Yes, no, we have.
Okay.
No.
Thank you.
This question is for staff. The notification is received by the owner of the apartment complex, not by each resident, correct? So, given that I cannot think as to how I can justify putting a cemetery next to a residential multifamily community. So if
There is a buffer. There is a large tract of land owned by the DFW airport, separating the two.
it's
No?
The apartment to the south, that is apartments that butts up to the south.
I'm
Now,
sorry, I made a mistake.
there is a drainage creek, a channel between the two, but the adjacent property is the multifamily.
Sorry, I made a mistake.
Any further questions for the applicant? Is there any, just hold please, is there anyone else who would like to speak in favor of the item? Anyone who would like to speak in opposition? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'll close the item to the floor, return it to the commission for discussion or a motion.
Madam Chairwoman, if none of the other commissioners have any other questions, I'd like to make a motion to forward this case to the city council based on staff recommendations for denial.
Second.
That would be zoning case 202621CZ.
I'm sorry, I'm sorry to interrupt. I would like to ask a couple of questions. I had one
Please
for
do.
Jocelyn. On the discussion about the endowment, I mean, is there really any way that to tie that to our approval? I mean, not really, right?
We're not approving it.
No, that's not a
Or
zoning
to enforce
item.
it in any way or
No,
anything?
and state law regulates how these could be categorized and how they
Okay.
can be funded.
I don't really have a problem at all with the interior setback issue. I don't know if anybody else would. That part seems fine, but I do really kind of struggle. In a lot of ways, this makes sense to do this here, and I'd like to. I think the size of it is really challenging, and some of the features of the site. So I'm not sure I can support it without working with the city a little bit more on those issues.
I would have to agree with Adam on that. I don't have an issue with the setbacks around the Harrington Cemetery, but the size of it is the problem that I'm struggling with myself. And and the endowment is not necessarily a part of it, but we can't, as a commission, put something in that's not going to be necessarily self-sustainable. That would put a hardship on all the residents around if it's not maintained properly.
So it strikes me that the 25-acre requirement is for a sort of a general cemetery, and this is really a cemetery intended for a specific religious community. You think about a cemetery attached to a church, it's not going to be 25 acres. Like you just can't even imagine it being that. It seems to me this is very close to the Islamic Center of Irving. It's obviously intended to be connected to it. I don't have a problem with the 4.76 acres. That seems like not an unreasonable size. Yeah, it would be nice if it was larger. I'm sure that in however many years, they're going to wish they had more space. But if requiring 25 acres is going to mean you're going up to Denton, I mean, that makes sense. I don't
agree.
think you could get 25 acres here in Irving to do this, and I don't think it really makes sense to require that.
I think it makes sense that we follow what the requirements are. Anyone else
Motion on the
coming?
table.
to
I
us
agree with
has to-
Skinner on the 25 acres. I mean, I understand what you're saying, but we're looking at an 82% variance. That's huge.
Daniel?
Yeah, I said, this is a case where I think the presentation and discussion is very helpful. It's hard for me to imagine what other use this property would have with the existing cemetery in the middle. And I'm not as concerned about the care of the lot, given that it is associated with a religious community. I think there is a concern about there being an apartment complex neighboring, but there's already an existing cemetery, like, pretty close to that property. So, I would be in support of this proposal.
Yeah,
Commissioner Khan?
there is actually a huge demand for this kind of cemetery for a particular region group because I know for the fact that my mother-in-law passed away in January, and I had to call multiple people to find one plot in Copile Cemetery. The demand is so high, really. I mean, I'm pretty sure 3,000 lot is gonna go sold in a couple of days or probably a week, not more than a week. So I think I'm in support of that as well.
We have a motion from Commissioner Pritchard to deny. Did we get a second on that?
Yeah, Gerald seconded.
Gerald, second. Okay, so we have a motion on the floor to deny. Please vote. So the motion carries to deny it 5-4. which means that this will go to City Council meeting on April 16th. We only go with the recommendation to City Council. They have the final say. Okay, moving on to case 202629-ZC. Is the applicant available? That would be 3102 Dupree Street. Good evening. Your name and city of residence, please.
My name is Jonathan Garcia. I'm speaking on behalf of the applicant Paulo Garcia. Our current residence is here in Irving, 3045 William Brewster Drive. Been here more than 20 years. We love Irving. We specialize in just real estate development, making homes better than they were. This specific lot, we're just having a little bit of trouble with. It was burned down, and whenever we tore it down, we did a plat, and for some reason it came back a little bit smaller on the zoning. So we're just simply wanting to get a little bit larger just so we can build a house that we're wanting to. That's pretty much it.
About what size house are you trying to build?
What size house? ¿Qué grande está la casa? ¿Cuántos square feet?
Square feet, 3,200.
¿Con el garaje?
Sí.
3,200 including the garage.
3,000?
200, yeah.
3,200 including the garage.
O 3,500. Sí.
Yeah, it's around
Más o
3,000, 3,200, 3,500, including the garage square
One
feet.
story or two stories?
One story.
Yeah, one story.
Okay.
Any other questions from Mr. Garcia? Okay, is there anyone else who'd like to speak in favor of this item? Anyone who'd like to speak in opposition?
Yes.
Please come down and state your name. If you'll step aside, Mr. Garcia, and just maybe have a seat in the front in case you want to offer any feedback.
Howdy. I'm Kevin Alexander. I'm resident of Irving, and I've owned a property that's within 200 feet of theirs for 29 years now. In fact, 29 years and 5 days. The concern that I've got is when you purchase a lot like that, you know what you're getting. You know what you've got. You know where the building limits are. With this being on that corner, it's in a very, very congested area. The area it's simply saturated with people. It's saturated with vehicles. It's getting to the point where it's kind of sketchy whether or not the emergency services can actually get down the streets because of the number of cars and trailers and other vehicles and whatnot that are around. If you go back with a variance of 25 feet facing Dupree, that gives you no room in front of the structure to actually park a vehicle in the driveway. Your typical passenger car is around 17 feet these days. So if you park that about 2 feet back from a wall on the driveway or from a garage door, it leaves the back bumper of the vehicle overhanging the sidewalk on the street. Your typical full-size truck these days starts at about 20 feet in length, and some of them exceed 22 feet in length, which actually puts it closer to hanging over the curb by simply parking a vehicle in your driveway. With a house of that size, it makes me think that it's going to trend towards the other stuff that goes on in the area, where it becomes almost like an apartment complex, where you end up with multiple families or just multiple groups living in that house. I'm having to deal with that as it is, where my immediate neighbor has a single car driveway, but they've got 9 vehicles because there's a tenant in the garage, there's a tenant in the sunroom, there's a tenant in one of the bedrooms. They built a shed in the back, and there's a tenant living in the shed. And like I said, there are 9 cars There are times that I have difficulty pulling into my two-car driveway with my truck because they're parking right up against the edge of my driveway. And I've got neighbors across the street that are parking in front of their house, which is also in front of my driveway. And then they'll be parking in front of my house, which means when I pull in with my truck or another long wheelbase vehicle I have, it's very difficult for me to get into my own property despite having a two-car wide driveway. This is not the kind of neighborhood where you build a 3,500 square foot home. It's not there. You know, these homes were built in 1961, 62, that area. I know the foundations are garbage, and I'd love to take mine down and replace it too. But I don't think that's the lot for that size of a property or of a structure to go in. And I'm really concerned with what it's going to do to the congestion and the traffic, the number of occupants that are going to be in a building of that size in that neighborhood. That's not Valley Ranch. You don't build that kind of home there. I mean, mine's 1,300 square feet, and mine was built in 61. So I think going twice the size that I've got is excessive, and I think it's going to become a multi-resident facility. It's going to be an apartment complex, not a single-family dwelling. Thank you.
We appreciate it. Would you all like a few minutes to?
Yeah, so respect to that, and I do agree with him. Having 9 cars in there is crazy, you know, and I would say that's a problem. But that's not our case. I'm sorry, it's not 3,200 or 3,500, it's only 2,500, and it's a 2-car garage. So yes, 9 cars is crazy. I would find that a problem, you know. But our home, it's gonna be a 2-car garage, and then if they would want to park in front, they could park up to 4 cars, you know, in the driveway, not even including not parking on the street. So there was a house there before as well with the same thing, long driveway, a car garage, and they would only park in the house. So with us, I mean, it's a three bedroom? It's gonna be a 3-bedroom, 2-bath most likely. So it's just like a single family home. And then we don't allow, even we have homes that are rented out in Irving, and we don't allow that either. We don't like renting to multiple people, only single families, because yes, that's a real issue, and I do respect that, and I even agree with that, you know. But for our homes, we respect that. We're not gonna have a problem with that. Yeah, and I've already entered the plan too, what type of house we want to build, and yeah, it's a 2-car garage. Even if they want to park in front, they have up to 4 cars available to park there, you know. So yeah.
Did you say that you're actually planning on a 2,500 square foot house?
Yes, I'm sorry, yeah.
Okay.
With the garage.
Okay. And I believe the gentleman who just spoke mentioned his house was about 1,300, and I think I hear that the house nearby is about 1,400. So was the house before it, was it more like that 1,300, 1,400 square feet?
No sé
¿Casi la misma?
No, está más chiquita.
Yeah, we really do not know, but it was probably like a little bit smaller than the house that we want to build.
Okay.
But yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And you mentioned something. Are you all planning to live there, or
No.
you're building this to rent?
No, to sell. To sell.
To sell?
Yeah, and then sometimes we do end up renting, and then even all of our rental properties, we only work in Irving as well. We love Irving. We don't allow, I know what he's talking about. There's sometimes people, they'll want to bring like a lot of guys to rent out a house. We don't allow that. They make a mess. They do that where they park a lot of stuff. It becomes a problem. Yeah, we don't deal with that. We know it's a problem.
Okay, and then, you know the houses in that area are smaller. Why are you all building a 2,500 square foot home?
It seems big, 2,500, just because it's including the 2-car garage.
And then the
So,
porch, the back porch.
yeah, and it has a back porch as well. So,
I think the homes over there all have garages also.
I'm not too sure about that.
Yeah, he's shaking his head. Yeah.
Maybe like a 1-car garage, but
Madam
ours
Chairman?
would be 2.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Can I jump in here real
Please.
quick?
Thank you.
I just wanted to add, there is a permit application on hold presently with inspections. The square footage that is shown on that is 3,253 square feet. I don't know if that includes a typical two-car garage, which is normally 20 by 20, that's 400 square feet. But what has been submitted to us is 3,253. Now, whether that's living, okay, that includes the garage. So that's the living area, the porch area, which is shown as 252 square feet, a 462 square foot garage. So the total coverage of that home is 3,253. And that's what's been submitted to our building inspection department. It's currently on hold.
Thanks, Wade. Any other questions for Mr. Garcia?
This really wouldn't be for Mr. Garcia. For staff, how much square footage can they build by right?
We don't have a number we'd have to calculate inside. They've got their setbacks, they've got their envelope. So they've got their front setback, their side setback, their rear setback, and so we would have to just see within that setback what their footprint would be. They could also do 2 stories. You can do 2 stories in this district. So,
Right, yeah.
Yeah, so I can't give you a number, but they have that envelope inside all of the required setbacks.
Okay, and for question, you mentioned it was the permit about 3,200, right, square feet?
Yes, the total, and that
Right,
includes,
the
that's
total.
living,
So-
garage.
And the
extra
garage, you said was about 450?
460.
460, around 460, and then the porch was about 250?
Yeah.
So we're down about 2,500?
It leaves you about 2,530 square feet.
Yeah, so about what they're saying it's
Yeah.
going to be. Yeah, because it's a livable space.
Living area is
That
about
it counts.
20,
And then,
25,
you have that they could do a 2-story, and then that will be probably within their rights, so it wouldn't really be out of the norm of what they're trying to build in the community. So, sorry, one question. Is this, you bought this house, the lot, you said the house burned down? And
Yes, sir.
And you bought the property, and now you're going to be building it for probably reselling it or leasing it out?
Yes, sir.
Correct. All right. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
This lot is considerably larger than the ones because it's on the corner, correct?
It is, but it's a larger lot, but it has the bigger setbacks. So that's typical when they plat, is they give the corner lot a little bit more property, knowing that you've got that setback.
Okay, great. Any other questions for the applicant, for Mr. Garcia? Okay, I'll close the item to the floor and return it to the commission for discussion or a motion.
I would like to acknowledge the gentleman that came here to speak, and I do understand the concerns that you're mentioning, and about the traffic and the other issues that you mentioned as well. However, I mean, I believe they're within their the square footage that they're allowed to build in this space, and it's about 2,500 square feet home, and so. If no further comments, I'd like to make a motion on case 202629ZC for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. The motion passes 6-3, which will go to the City Council for their final vote on April 16th.
Sounds good. Okay. Thank you so much.
Next zoning case, 2026-47-ZC, located at 1311 Meridian Drive. Is the applicant present? Good evening, sir. If you'll come down with your name and city of residence.
My name is Fred Martinez. I live in 828 Atchison Drive in Saginaw, Texas.
Thank you, sir. We discussed your case at work session.
Yes.
Did you hear that?
Yes, I did. I'm only here in case you had any comments or questions.
Thank you. Since anything you'd like to add from what we discussed in work session?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Does the commission have any questions for Mr. Martinez?
One of the questions that was brought up, and it said that building inspection says you have enough of, but if you could sort of highlight it for us, is the parking.
Right now, we don't, we have a surplus of 26 spaces, roughly, with the square footage that we have on the lot, on the site plan shown. I don't know how to show that on the screen, but we have, yeah, there it is. That layout that we have shown has everything accommodated for the hotel space, and then we calculated, I gather my calculations here, actually. We had roughly 166 stalls for the parking for the 237 units, and 40 stalls for the banquet hall, and we're required to have 206 spaces per code, and we provided surplus, we provided 232.
Has plenty of parking. Is there anyone who would like to speak in favor of this item? Anyone in opposition? Seeing none, I'll close the item to the floor, return it to the commission for discussion or a motion.
If there's no further discussion amongst the commissioners, I'd like to move zoning case 2026-47-ZC to City Council for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. It'll go to City Council on April 16th for a final vote. Thank you, Mr. Martinez. Moving to zoning case 2026-48-ZC at 707 Hilltop Drive. Is the applicant present? Thank you all very much for your patience this evening. If you'll come down. We heard your case in work session. I don't know if you were there.
No, we weren't there.
You're welcome to add any remarks about the case if you'd like.
Well, basically, what we're asking is to move from the zone.
Could you please give your name and
Excuse
city?
me, yeah, my name is Dwight Besada.
Okay.
I live at 3709 Colonnade Grove Drive in Frisco, Texas.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Posada.
So basically, our interest is taking this small house that has a multifamily residential 2, RMF2 zoning, which what we learned in conversations with the city was that there's that's like a very old zoning, because we did ask, how can such a small lot and a small house be in a multi-family zone, sort of like, so we want to move over to R6, and the city even told us, yeah, the best recommendation, don't even request on variance for the zoning you have, just request move on to an R6, which is sort of like the path that most of the city and all the lots around it is more or less, that's the trend. So we decided, well, yeah, that's probably what we should do, because the owner has the interest of doing an addition for commercial purposes to sell it, and to improve the neighborhood, because we understand that the neighborhood's trying to go from these very small, this is a house that's less than 1,000 square feet, very small, and to go up to more or less 2,000, 2,100, more or less that order. That's the intention, 2,200 probably at the most, with no need to change any setbacks, just to maintain whatever R6, which is 25 in the front, 20 in the back, 5 on each side. More or less, that's the intention we have.
Thank you, sir. Any questions for the applicant? Okay. Is there anyone who would like to speak in favor of this item?
Nobody left?
Anyone who would like to speak in opposition? Okay, I'll close the item to the floor and return it to the commission for discussion or a motion.
Thank you very much.
If there's no further discussion amongst the commissioners, I'd like to move zoning case 2026-48-ZC to City Council for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. Your case passes 9-0. It will go to City Council for final vote, Mr. Posada. They'll see you on April 16th.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your patience this evening. Moving on to our final case of this evening, 2026-57-ZC, located at 201 East Pioneer Drive. Is the applicant present? Would you like to come down and speak? We heard your case during work session, so if you'll give your name and city of residence, please.
My name is Betsy Beltran. City of residence is Dallas, Texas.
Thank you so much. Is there anything you'd like to add from what we discussed during work session?
I would. So to clarify, it's not going to be a coffee shop. It's more of a coffee studio. We do have a warehouse where all the packaging, all the roasting will be done for the coffee beans. That's located in Cairns, Texas. It's about 7,500 square feet and sitting on 2.7 acres. So there's no need for like a big stock at the Irving location. It's really just for like testing. There's like small test devices where you can test the temperature of the coffee beans, the color. Just that way we can get our prospective clients or clients to show them really what the quality of the bean. And the office space will be used just to process online and app-based orders. So really it's, and then, small sampling just to provide, the prospective clients a sample of our coffee. But it's just something small, nothing big, and then we'll keep in stock just the necessary things, and then whatever's being delivered, it'll be maybe once a week. And again, a small quantity or bigger, wholesale orders will be based out of Cairns, Texas.
Thank you. Any questions for our applicant?
You're the business owner, but not the property owner, correct?
Neither. I'm just representing Ultra Coffee.
Okay.
We had the discussion during the work session, and it sounded like you could do something that had sort of office kind of component with some storage. That's kind of what it sounded like she was describing. So I'm not clear on why you need the zoning change if what you're describing already meets what it allows. I don't know who that question's for.
Yeah, if I'm correct, it was represented as being kind of, this is the first I'd heard of this studio lab-ish perspective.
Okay.
Staff may know more, but we understood it as being kind of a distribution center for roasted coffee and being more convenient to their customers.
Yeah, would you be open to this being postponed for y'all to discuss this with staff further? Because based on what we heard during the work session, it doesn't sound like you need a zoning change, and it doesn't make sense for us to change the zoning. I would tend to be opposed to that. The previous time this property came before us, a number of people in the neighborhood were opposed to these sorts of changes to the zoning. So I'm not inclined to do that, but it's not clear that you even need it, which would certainly make your life easier.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
So basically, this would be just like a satellite office for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, pretty much. We'll stock some of the product, but obviously just maybe for, like, our clients would come by appointment only. It's not.
So would you have a ratio of 51% office and 49% storage, or how would that work? What would your ratio be?
I don't know the exact ratio, but I get storage again would be, storage would be limited. We do intend to have just like a regular delivery van on a weekly basis, once a week. So if that week I have an appointment with like 3 prospective clients, which should be like our coffee shops, whoever, owners of coffee shops, bakeries, if I have 3 appointments set up next week, then I know that I need to tell them, hey, you need to deliver about this much to the location for the week. We don't want to stock everything there, just what's necessary for like maybe the week or the 2 weeks, which is why we'd have very limited deliveries.
I would agree with Commissioner Skinner. I think this is something that would probably fit the criteria of the existing zoning, and I would support him, if you would support postponing it and working with staff to figure
Yes.
out exactly with details what you're doing.
Yes, that'd be great.
I do have a quick question for you. So the coffee that you're selling is for small retail coffee shop owners, not for large commercial office buildings that are, not like a Parks or anything of that nature?
No, we're
It's
trying to go
smaller.
local,
Yeah, and then your online orders would be to those, would that be to individuals who want to purchase your coffee, or is that online ordering for these retail operations that use your coffee?
So it would be for the coffee shops. They would order through there. Again, it'd be smaller quantities in Karen's. So we're looking at local coffee shops within Irving as well. And then obviously Karen's as well, since that's where the big warehouse is. So in reality, if they just get on the app and just order, and if they're located in Irving, it can be
Can pick it up there?
in Irving, yeah.
Okay.
Whatever's, I guess, closer.
But it's not like, large box trucks coming in and out?
No, it would be
Yeah.
a small delivery van.
Yeah.
The way this is being presented, Jocelyn, would she need a variance, or would this be?
Well, I was just going through the letter of intent, which was pretty clearly wholesale distribution, and they talk about warehousing, so we need to understand if that's not the intent, because that's what we were told.
Okay.
So if the plan has changed, we need to understand what that looks like inside the building, because the distribution is what we knew.
Are you open to postponing it and working with staff to figure it out?
Yes.
Okay. Then if there's no further questions amongst. Go ahead.
Anyone else who would like to speak in favor of this item? Anyone else who would like to speak in opposition to the item? Okay, seeing none, I'll close the item to the floor, return it to the commission for a motion or a vote.
I'll make a motion to postpone to, is it?
May 4th.
May 4th meeting, zoning case 2026-57-ZC.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second, please vote. The motion passes. So if you'll contact the staff this week when you can to sort of refine the zoning case, you may not have to come back.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. We stand adjourned this evening at 8:28. Thank you all.